really want to talk about like this notion of being like the bonus parent. And again, since three of us are the first daughter, particularly coming from Igbo heritage, yeah, das, lots of responsibilities are put on us. Um, so, at an early age, literally like very early, I remember, I think being seven or so, my, again, kind of going back to that immigrant experience, parents had to work, obviously, so minimum wage kind of jobs, hustling to make sure their kids had, what they needed. But as a result, we kind of missed out on lots of key moments with our parents. So just kind of naturally, we were forced to maybe grow up, maybe in a way that we didn't really like. At seven, you don't need to be the mom of the house, if that makes sense. So I just remember getting in trouble. My siblings would misbehave, kind of being held to that standard of, you should have been watching them. You should have been making sure they're doing the right thing. But it's like, I'm seven. So how am I, going to be doing all of these things? So there's a lot of challenges, as far as that growing up. So I do want to ask you all, um, do you kind of hold these same expectations for the oldest child, as they grow up? Um, what do you guys kind of think about that? Like, to what extent do you want your um, oldest child or the oldest children to be watching after the younger ones?
Ooh, can I speak?
Yes. Yes.
Because, and Kira knows me, I am the oldest of 8 children. I was the, I don't even know if I should say honorable, but I was definitely the third parent. Um, it has made me, I would say, more responsible and more aware. However, because of certain experiences, I don't want my children feeling at such a young age that my responsibility is their responsibility, that my
Mm,
burdens are their burdens. No, I made that choice to have children, so I will try as much as possible to absorb a lot of the shock that comes with the decisions that I make, rather than allowing my oldest child to absorb that shock. Um,
right.
and at the same time, I want to try my best to preserve their innocence as far as like being a child and being able to just enjoy childhood, because now as an adult, even me self, I don't even want to do adult. I
Think
don't.
about it.
I don't.
Right.
So I'm like, there's no rush in growing up. So for the fact that I feel like that, I'm like, if I can do anything for my children, I want them to enjoy a life as long as possible, and
Mm,
that as much sense, without any responsibilities. I mean,
right.
well, of course, they have to learn. Honestly, wait, let's take that back. They have to learn responsibility, because in adulthood, you need certain experiences to be
Right.
a strong adult. However, as I want them to just enjoy as much as possible, because that's like the only time in life you're ever under somebody's full protection. You
Right.
understand? So yeah.
Right. And sis, I love that you brought that up because, like you said, being that you're the eldest of eight, and I think for many of us too, like I'll speak for myself. Like for those of us in the Charlotte area, like you are our big sister. So it's like I'm pretty sure growing up, your parents probably like made you feel like you have a lot of people who are looking up to you. So I know that was like a lot of stress, added stress, and everything else.
Oh,
Um,
thank
yeah.
you.
So Nina, I don't know if you have or
Um, I actually just had this conversation with my husband, and I feel like, first of all, I'm very happy to hear Amaka's version or personal feedback based on being in that role. I'm not the first child. I'm actually the last. I'm the
oh,
first
okay.
girl.
Okay.
Um, so it's interesting hearing that. But the conversation I had with my husband was, we definitely do this. So maybe we should slow down. But but my oldest, and then you have to read your kids, your personality, and you have to learn to kind of understand how your actions are affecting them. So my first son takes pride in being the man of the house when my dad is not here, and I'm the man of the house. And so he enjoys making the right decisions when daddy is not there, But then I also realized, and this is a conversation we had, what about the second one? Because now the second one kind of shifts the blame to my older son, Chemata. Well, I asked Chemata, and he said, and then he's slowly not feeling the need to take responsibility. And so, should we really put that on the first son alone, or kind of find a balance where they both have the, I don't know what to say, turns or opportunities to be responsible for your other. So, in other words, I think I'm beginning not to like the older, younger, taking responsibility for your sibling. I like that. Let them both take responsibility for each other.
A partnership.
Thank you. So that's kind of, we literally just had this conversation. It's more so like, let Akachi start to see that he should be responsible for his brother's actions as well. Because if my husband comes home and Akachi does something, he's looking at the older one. But you were here. Why did you let him do that? And then Akachi at the corner, but you actually did the problem. You know what I mean? And now,
oh my gosh.
the older one is explaining, I did see him, or I told him, you know what I mean? So we had this conversation, but then trickling back again to Amaka's view, yeah, you don't want to put all that pressure on a little child. You know, they're kids in the end. So I guess we'll all learn to, about parenting is you learn as you go. So
Yes.
all learn to kind of balance it out. But I definitely think it's important for kids to take some degree of responsibility in their actions. I feel it's very important that they know they're answerable to someone. They know that, there are some things that, my older son will say, I'd rather go to detention than get in daddy's trouble, that kind of thing. So little things like that give them a sense of, just being responsible when they're away from mom and dad. You know what I mean? Because the kids these days it's not our time. And these kids these days are very advanced, very smart. A lot of things that we had no idea. They are really, really way ahead of us. So, yeah.
Yeah. Curtis, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with both the ladies who just spoke. For me, I was a first child as well. I'm first of four, the oldest of four. So I definitely understand how that parentified child works and how taxing that is. Being the first child and being responsible, it does forces you to grow up faster than you would like, and you'll lose some of that innocence and childhood experience that many of your peers do have. So I definitely wouldn't want that for my son growing up. Whoever comes before him, but I do agree with Nina that they do need some kind of responsibility. So it depends on my intention when I'm teaching him something as far as responsibility. Like example is, if I'm telling him hey, can you go online and pay this bill? Just an example. I'm telling him for him to know it for himself on how to, organize bills and things of that nature and then finances. And I'm teaching him behind that of, gaining that responsibility and, when it's your turn to step into that leadership role, then you're able to do so. And also teaching them how that responsibility looks when me or your mom is not there. If me or your mom is not there, then yes, you are responsible for looking out for your younger sibling in that sense. So, but I think it should only be absent of me and the parent, because you don't want to give your children that confusion of they are, a parent as well. You don't want to put them on that same hierarchy as you. You want to still make sure they understand that we're still your parents above all.
Exactly. And that's actually a perfect segue to kind of the next thing I wanted to ask as it relates to this. So, like, even till today, my mom would, she'll call me and be like, hey, did you see what, your sister or your brother did? You need to call them and put it, I'm not their parent. So, I literally have to tell her, Mom, that's literally not my responsibility. I have my own things to do, and I just can't take that on, because that was literally my childhood. My entire childhood was watching after my siblings, like you mentioned earlier. I think it's just not being able to do certain things just because, you had to essentially come home and be around, for your younger siblings. So forgot to mention a trigger warning in case anyone is triggered by their childhood, because I definitely am.